Now, a lot of you guys have been sending me this video of a man sharing his story over on TikTok. And I'm not going to lie, y'all. When I read through the comments, it genuinely makes me feel concerned, bro. I don't know any other word other than concerned, because we have people in the comments saying, I'm an investigative journalist, we should talk. Someone even said, it's called Project Room Key. I was one of the nurses that packed up my car and treated patients in the lobby with NP. I saw a lot of ish, bruh. The life insurance part is seriously so deep, you can get a policy on anyone without them even knowing. Listen, y'all. This is going to be a very interesting topic of conversation. True story. Listen up. Let's check this out, y'all.
Listen to me. I am compelled to tell this story. For my story is 100% true, and I need you to listen. In 2018, I went to prison. While I was in prison, my ex was still on the street. In Seattle, the police will sweep the homeless off the street periodically throughout the year. They'll go to the densest, most populated place where homeless are, and they'll take them off the street and put them in jail. While in jail, a lot of these homeless were approached by some unknown entity, unknown people, and presented with a thick packet. All they had to do was sign on the dotted line, and they would get something called permanent housing. Now, prior to this, before my girl got swept up and put into jail, she was telling me while I was in prison that they were making all these apartment complexes all over the city. This was in 2016 to 2018, right before COVID and the fentanyl epidemic had hit the streets. Now, my girl signed, and so did a lot of these other homeless. So when they were let out of prison, they were given apartments in these complexes that had been just popped up overnight, basically. At first, everybody was happy. The conversations over the phone were great. My girl was happy to be off the street. So was everybody. As the months went on, my girl was telling me some crazy shit was happening inside these apartment complexes. Now, when you take homeless off the street and give them no practical skills and they have no house training, they will take the streets with them and trap out wherever they're at. So these homeless people were getting put in these buildings under the guise of harm reduction. They were reducing harm is what the program said. But in fact, as the months went on, and I was talking to my girl just about every day, people started dying from overdoses, weird illnesses. The old people that were basically crippled and in the first floor of these apartment complexes, they were getting signed up for life insurance. When they died, who got their life insurance? Now, there was a whistleblower that worked at one of these places. He was just a regular dude, just a regular good-hearted dude, and he seen that some weird shit was going on. Now, he dug into who founded these buildings, who paid for it. It was
So you're telling me that these people are going to the homeless, opening up business or opening up a building to house them, and when they pass away, collect life insurance policies on them, bro? How do you even come up with that, bro? Let's continue.
IMF, the International Money Fund. If you don't know who they are, you need to do your homework, because they're the ones, when you hear that America has a $1 trillion debt, they're the ones who handle those transactions in between countries. They're also have people that sit on their board like the Rothschilds, who play both sides of conflicts and wars.
That's
and
a fact.
pay off
That's a fact.
This nation sells them weapons and then pays off the opposite nation and sells them weapons. Okay,
That's a
they're
fact.
also, the IMF is also who these huge like the World Health Organization, FEMA, funnel their money into, so that the money goes to wherever they say the money needs to go. All right, it's a huge world organization. Why would they start making these huge apartment complexes right before the pandemic and right before the fentanyl epidemic really hit the streets? It's almost as if they knew this crisis was going to happen, and then these homeless that were taken off the street and put into these places were literally dying. This was eugenics all over again. This was population control of the new age. This is all real. It's 100% fact. But the thing is, out of 5 years, my girl living in this apartment complex, she is one of the only ones to still be alive out of a 6-story huge apartment complex. Everyone else is dying, and she is hanging on by a thread to her sanity. Now listen, while I was in prison, she would tell me I'm hearing voices and I'm seeing things. She never had this problem on the street. She was a straight street gangster, bro. She slept, she ate, and she never did too many drugs to be out of her wits. She was a beast, right? But all of a sudden, her and other people that are in these apartment complexes are reporting hearing voices and seeing shit and weird things coming through the vents. Now, when you look at these apartment complexes, they are built weirdly. Their architecture has hollow walls. Let's say one room's 8 feet, 8 feet, and 8 feet, right? But on the outside, the room's 16 feet. You go inside the room, it's still 8 feet. So there's walls behind walls. That's one thing. Also, she took this magnetizer thing because she was finding her and a lot of other people would pace up and down certain spots of the apartment like they were on some kind of a magnetic line. When she Google mapped the top of these buildings, normal buildings, they have like HVAC, an electrical system, some ventilation, shit like that. But when she looked on Google Maps, there was all these big ass, weird ass blocks on top of it. Now, this whistleblower, going back to him, this nice guy that truly cared about these tenants and was starting to see weird shit go on, he did the investigation to see where the money came from to pay for these places. He found that really thick fucking contract that everybody remembers seeing in jail but couldn't get a hold of when they were in the actual apartment complex and wanted to see what the fuck they had just signed up for. He found in this fucking contract that these guys had signed on to chemical manipulation, brainwave scanning technology, voice to skull, and some other shit in huge legalese buried language. I shit you not. Nobody could get a copy of this. Nobody. And the copy that he had, he couldn't get it off of a computer. It was word of mouth. So what he did was make a YouTube video and he whistleblew. And I know a lot of people in Seattle must have seen it because it was getting thousands of views. And he had told the people in the apartment complex, look at this. Tell other people from these other housing apartment complexes to watch this shit. And they did. But this non-drug user, guess what happened to him? Yeah, he was found unalive from a drug overdose, and he didn't do drugs. He was a big proponent of that, of not doing drugs, right? But he's found with a drug overdose. Sounds like he was unalive for knowing some shit and blowing the whistle. So I get out of prison and get this. I go to find this shit. You can't find the video. What was my girl lying to me? Was her friends lying to me about this video? No. And we had conversations about it because I started living in this place. This place was weird. I had never heard voices in my head before. I had never seen shit. I shit you not, I seen an alien. Everybody knew about this alien. I'll tell you about the alien later. But there was things going on. The food wasn't right. We all know the food's not right, but this food really wasn't right. The water was not.
They were using y'all as like some type of experiment, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Y'all were like guinea pigs to them or something, bro. Guinea pigs. And then had life insurance policies so that they could cover their ass regardless. They invest all this money into building these buildings, spend all this money into the experimental stuff, and then once you once you pass away, collect their insurance.
Right? There was weird gas pipes that were capped that came out of the walls that nobody could tell anybody about. The management was circulated on like a 3 to 6 month loop, so there was never a steady, stable person at the top of the food chain that could provide answers. And the counselors that were there were cover-up artists. All they did was push the problem to the side when people complained about this shit, and then the people ended up dying. After a year of living in this crazy shit, I tried to get other people that had seen this video. They were dead. They were gone. This is word of mouth. This is on my heart. True. I put this on everything, and I need to get this story out. I'm going to do a deep dive of this one time when I go back to Seattle to have some hard facts. But this shit's real, and it's happening in Seattle. And if it's happening in Seattle, it's happening in other places. Please post this. Please repost this. Please save this. Please comment. Please like. Because I'm trying to get this news out there. I'm trying to do my part, all right? And I need your guys' help. I need your guys' support because this is real shit. This is only the tip of the iceberg, okay? There's a lot more that went on in this place. There's a lot more that was connected to this place, but this is just a little bit of the story. Holler back. at me on your thoughts and anything else you think about this, all right?
I'm not gonna lie, y'all. Once he started getting into the word of mouth stuff, that's when I kind of pull back, okay? Because one thing that's very important whenever you're making content like this is obviously having some level of fact, right? You can't just come out here, make a video saying all these things, making all these allegations, and then, that's just it. Now, am I saying that it's not true? That's not what I'm saying at all. What he's talking about is very, very likely of happening. I will say that. It's not far-fetched at all. But the fact that everything is word of mouth and nothing is fact or evidence makes me question things, bro. I have a very discerning mind. I have a very critical mind. I don't just take things as fact unless I'm given some level of evidence. That's just how I am, right? But I'm genuinely curious to know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you guys did make it up to this part of the video, make sure you guys do leave a like, subscribe. I'm going to catch you guys in the next one, man. Peace.